Hello everybody and welcome back to another weekly recap. We have a really jam-packed week, a lot to talk about. First up here we have the new poll blog for RuneScape partnerships. Very controversial as a lot of players view this as potentially adding MTX into the game. I'm going to talk a fair bit about my opinion on that later. However, there is a poll for it right now, so if you are not in favor of it, they have said that they will not add it if it does fail a poll. On top of that, we got the Forthos Dungeon update. I didn't realize this update was coming out so soon. I was not prepared for it. We'll go over that update a little bit, but I don't think it's changed much since the original poll blog. I'm going to try out the new Forthos Dungeon content today. However, I think the boss currently is packed with people, so it might not be worth trying yet. Anyway guys, hope you enjoy and let's get started. So on July 1st, there was an update posted on the RuneScape website called Partnerships and Old School. Now to quickly summarize what a partnership is, essentially it would be another company, for example Twitch, would be partnering up with Jagex. Jagex would offer some custom rewards only to Twitch or Amazon Prime members, and that actually has happened in the past with a purple skin in RuneScape. So this does seem pretty benign, and you can tell this entire update post was very carefully worded, carefully crafted. They said that everyone, including the CEO of Jagex, does not want MTX in the game. However, is partnerships really a different form of microtransactions? A lot of people would argue, yes, you are just paying a different company, a third party, instead of the first party publisher like Jagex for the cosmetics. So instead of paying Jagex $10 to get a purple skin, you're now paying Twitch $10 to get a purple skin. Now obviously it's not the exact same because you're not really paying just for the cosmetic, it's more of a bonus, but it's kind of hard to argue that it's not at least a little bit of microtransactions in the game. Now what they've promised is that any additions offered through partnerships will not be exclusive and will be available for all members at a later date. Any addition that we do offer will be made according to the art style of old school RuneScape. The additions will not impact the playing experience, and you will be polled on what additions are offered, as well as any additions will be purely cosmetic. So for example, some of the potential rewards that they would offer would be POH styles, for example a Mauritania region style in your house, a theme based on the Goblin City of Dorgish Khan. Honestly, most of these rewards I think are pretty cool. There are POH reskins, there are different home teleport animations, different emotes, and different skin colors. So I really think these rewards are cool, and I'd like to see some of them in the game. I realize that even if I don't participate in any of these partnerships, I could still get access to them eventually, but is it worth it? I understand that Jagex wants to increase its reach, increase its revenue, whatnot. That isn't a crime, they're just a business. But I think doing it in this way is not going to work, just given the history of what happened to RS2. I think one thing that makes old school RuneScape so unique is that it is completely progression based, it's authentic, there's no crazy amounts of cosmetics everywhere. Everything is very recognizable and iconic, and I think if there was even a 1% chance that this would lead to further microtransactions down the road sometime, we should just vote no to it now. Yes, I think rewards are cool, but just throw them in with something else. It would make more sense, and I think would be healthier for the game. Another factor here is Jagex was just recently sold to another company. As far as I'm aware, it was sold to an American company, which in general, China has a much more tolerant culture for microtransactions and whatnot, but that doesn't really mean necessarily that the new company wouldn't be pushing for it as well. So I think it could be coming at somewhat of a vulnerable time. Anyway, there is a poll running right now, so let them know your opinion, and let's move on. Okay, so the new Forthos Dungeon was released today, actually had a 90% yes vote rate. So a lot of people were extremely happy with this content. I'm really looking forward to trying it out, but pretty much everything is the same since the poll blog. We have the new boss, Sarachnis, which is a mid-tier boss, dropping the Sarachnis Cudgel. Like I said earlier, apparently it's being camped really hard right now because it's not an instanced monster, and there's a ton of people there just swarming it, so I'm probably going to wait a few days to try it out. There is a new mini quest there called In Search of Knowledge. Once you completed it, you will get a 10,000 XP reward lamp, and you can get a further 1,000 XP reward for finding spare pages in the dungeon. The other pieces of content we have in the Forthos Dungeon are the grubby chest. Now you can get grubby keys from killing anything in the dungeon. Currently they're worth around 40 or 50k. I'm not really sure what the average loot looks like yet because it's the first day of the release, but probably somewhere around that amount. There's also a new dungeon in here for killing red dragons. And what makes it kind of unique is there are two training methods nearby that will kind of make a trifecta training method. There is an altar that will give you 3 times the experience rate from burying bones. And on top of that, there is a tannery there, so you could theoretically kill a dragon, bury the bone for increased experience, tan the hides into red dragon hide, create something out of it, and then alch the body or something like that, which is something I want to try out later. While I doubt it will be meta in any way, I think it will be fun, to be honest. Just kind of getting 3 different types of experience at once. It's like I'm almost an Iron Man or something. And then we have a few words from the developer, which is Mod Husky. The Forthos Dungeon has been my first project working on the old school RuneScape team. The dungeon originally started from a concept that Mod West pitched as part of the original Hosidia's House rework. Upon reading the original design, I love the concept of the dungeon as it reminds me strongly of the Taverley dungeon. The core concept of the dungeon is to be a self-contained area where the player can stay for long periods of time, sustaining themselves from drops that they receive. The story and lore of the dungeon describes it as being home to the opposing sides of an old and forgotten druidic religion. However, this is no longer the case. The dungeon has been overrun by undead creatures and is now home to Sarachnis, mother of the temple spiders. And there is another monster in there called the Undead Druid, which actually has a unique drop. They drop the Mask of Renewal, which I think is just cosmetic. I don't think it does anything. But they do heavily drop white berries, red spider eggs, eye of newts, potato cactus, and wines of Zamorak, which are all herblore things. This whole update is somewhat tailored to Iron Man. Another pretty interesting update this week is actually they have removed splashing in Lumbridge specifically. They've even drawn out a map of the area where you can't actually splash on rats or seagulls or anything like that anymore. Now, I definitely support getting rid of splashing or making it obsolete in some way, but this is kind of a weird way to do it. Now, what they have done is if you are in the Lumbridge area and you have a negative magic bonus or a certain negative magic bonus, your splash will not give any experience. So as of July 11th, we're removing cast experience for spells if your magic accuracy is so low that you could only ever deal 0 while in the area defined in the map on both members and free-to-play worlds. It's kind of just a weird stipulation to do it in Lumbridge. I guess they just don't want new players to be looking at that, which is fair. I guess just why not remove it everywhere at this point? Splashing is kind of dumb. I mean, it's not really that broken because the experience rate is so low. Maybe they're just hoping to do that with warding, I don't know. Alright, so I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but the Song of the Elves actually has an official release date now. It is July 25th, which, am I going to be here for July 25th? No, I'm not. That sucks. And 2 other important updates here. The red spider egg has now been removed from the Nightmare Zone reward shop, and the green pixel in the construction icon has been found and put back where it belongs. And that's pretty much it for the updates this week. Alright, so this week we did get a new Runelite update, a few really nice ones. The chat command plugin now includes !GC and !duels command, which shows Barbarian Assault gambles and Duel Arena wins. There has been a bit of an update to the clue scroll plugin. Now there's support for beginner clue scrolls for the hot and cold clues. The interface styles plugin now has an option to replace the left click cross sprite with the ones from RuneScape. And one of my favorite ones, the Grand Exchange plugin now has an option to show the total amount of GP in your offer slot at the top. I think this is on by default, so if you have 4 or 5 items in your offer slots, it'll show you exactly how much of your money is invested in buy offers or sell offers. And as always, quite a few nice and minor changes, so thank you once again to Runelite. So as I mentioned earlier, Jagex was sold once again. There's an article published on June 27th. The current owner, Fukong Interactive Entertainment, will sell its overseas businesses, including British gaming arm Jagex, its major driver for revenue, in order to pay off debts. Fukong penned a deal with US Platinum Fortune, valuing Jagex at $530 million, which I think they originally bought it for like $300 million. Again, the reason for selling it is to repay most of its maturing debts, and they said after that is done, they're going to start developing domestic mobile games. Last year, Jagex made $818 million in revenue, which equated to 99.5% of Fukong, which is pretty much all of it. So anyway, we have a new owner. I think this is probably for the best. Like I said earlier, Chinese-based games and Chinese-based companies are a lot more notorious for having scummy game mechanics, microtransactions, and it's somewhat of a cesspool for really bad games. They even say in the article right after selling Jagex, they're going to go ahead and develop some mobile games for Chinese audiences. Anyway, we'll have to see if there's any major changes with the new owner. Anyway guys, that is it for the weekly update. We had a ton this week. There's a ton of new content in the Forthos Dungeon. I'm going to go ahead and try that today. Expect a video tomorrow, maybe even 2. No, probably 1. We have the partnership poll, which I would heavily suggest going and voting on, especially if you have a strong opinion on whether this should get added to the game or not. If you don't vote, you can't really complain about anything. And once again, the Song of the Elves release date is July 25th. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave the video a like. I always appreciate it, and I will see you next time.